Good evening. Welcome to Columbia Heights Public Schools Independent School District Number 13 School Board meeting for Tuesday, April 9th, 2019. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, it goes a lot better when there's not a TV delay, huh? Thanks again, and good evening. And Laura, if you would, roll call, please.
Mueller?
Here.
Severson?
Here.
Larkin?
Here.
Luce?
Here.
The Samurai?
Here.
Palmer? Here. Is Kathy coming?
Okay. Our mission statement, creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. Our core values are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. And we will get this meeting moving here tonight. The first thing we're going to be doing is our Highlander highlights. And tonight we're going to be recognizing recipients of the Minnesota Scholastic, I was reading that part right there, Minnesota Scholastic Arts Awards program from Columbia Heights. And Dane and Sarah, I'm gonna have you guys come up if you want to just chat a little bit about the process, how the kids receive the awards and things. I got a big, long press release, but I thought maybe if you want to talk a little bit about the process, and then we'll recognize the kids that are here. Sorry to put you on the spot, but.
So first off, thanks for honoring the students. This is great for you to do that. The Scholastic Art Awards is a statewide competition where thousands of students present their artwork for judging. And within the first round, more than 60% of the artworks are cut. So the fact that any of our students get any of these awards is amazing because we're competing against the whole state of Minnesota. And then after that first round, they go through honorable mentions and award those. And then other people go through to a next round. And then there's just judges holding up green cards or red cards, putting things through or holding stuff back. And then anybody who gets a red card or a green card from the second round goes in towards gold keys. And then that's how things finish out. Yeah, it's a pretty intense process. So it's really admirable that they apply, and then it's amazing that they get awards.
Okay.
And I'll just say, in addition to that, all the technical stuff is that the students end up working a lot after school and having to really push themselves beyond their normal assignment. They have to go beyond and beyond, and we keep challenging them to go deeper into their content. And when they rise to the occasion to do that is when they reach these higher level awards. And so they're really special students that have shown up and done some great work.
Yeah, it's showcasing weeks, months, and a lot of students, years of hard work in their artwork.
And it's a reflection of all the years here at Columbia Heights from K all the way through to their higher grades, because they've been practicing art, many of them, for 8, 9, 10 years already when they get to high school. So it's a community thing.
And I've heard it in some of the others in the theater and in band and choir, the comparison is to the state competitions and your sporting events and things like that. So a gold key it really is a big deal. And the honorable mentions are certainly notable based on, especially what you talked about, the number of projects that are there. And then, as you said, 60% of them are.
Yeah, more than 60%.
Removed. Just right off the bat. So it's a big deal, and certainly worth noticing. We have several students that received awards. We have a handful of them that are here tonight. I thought what I would do is I would quickly go through the names of the people that are not here so that at least they get mentioned as well, and then we'll take a minute to embarrass the kids that did show up tonight and maybe get a picture with them and things like that. So I'm going to go through and I'll read the student's name. I'll read the first one, I'll read the whole certificate, but I'll read the name and what they were recognized for. And it's Samira Abdurrahman is recognized for receiving a silver key at the Minnesota Scholastic Arts Award. Thank you for representing the Columbia Heights School District. Luis Cortez was recognized an honorable mention at the Minnesota Scholastic Art Awards. Melissa Haas was recognized for receiving an honorable mention at the Minnesota Scholastic Arts Awards. Nicole Kirscher received a silver key at the Scholastic Arts Awards. Is it Fazia Mohammed? Honorable mention at the Scholastic Awards. Farah Mohammed recognized silver key and honorable mention at the Minnesota Scholastic Arts Award. Natalie Molina Diaz, gold key. Vanessa Mora received honorable mention at the Scholastic Awards. Ilan Omar received a gold key. Kate Rockwell received an honorable mention. And Noah Servio received 2 honorable mentions at the Minnesota Scholastic Awards. So I'll start by saying, any of those names that I read, are you guys hiding back there anywhere? Sneak in at the last minute? Okay, good. Then what I'd like to do is I'd like to call these students up one at a time, and I'm actually going to ask. Who's not?
Lily.
Lily's not here? Okay. Then Lillian Dixon received an honorable mention also. So what we'll do is I'm going to ask Dana and Sarah, I'm going to ask you guys to come up when I read the kid's name. You can present them the certificate, and then you can take pictures, and then we'll get pictures with you guys with the student, if that's okay. And we'll start with Annika Duckwall. Come on up, Annika. Annika Duckwall. Got to read what you got. Gold key and honorable mention at the Minnesota Scholastic Arts, so big deal, gold key. There you go. Thank you, Molly. Saham Ahmed, honorable mention at the Minnesota Scholastic Arts Awards. Congratulations. Ji Hong Ni, receiving a gold key and 2 honorable mentions at Minnesota Scholastic. Olivia Sarkinen, receiving 3 silver keys. Renee Booth, receiving a silver key at the Minnesota Scholastic Arts Awards. She's changing it up on us here, but that's all right. She's saving a couple steps. And a late arrival, Melissa Hosh, receiving honorable mention at the Minnesota Scholastic Award. Thought I didn't see it, didn't you? I think that's everybody that was here tonight. Got one more? Did we miss anybody? We're good? Okay. All right, thank you guys very much. Nice job. Congratulations. Sarah, can I send? Hey, Sarah, can I send? Yep.
There they go. They're smart.
You guys have done this before, haven't you? Run before the rest of the meeting gets going. Thank you. Okay, next up will be the agenda approval, adjustments, announcements, and correspondence. We'll start with the approval of the agenda. If I get a motion to move that forward, please.
So moved.
Lauren?
Second.
Molly? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Announcements, April 16th at 5 p.m. there'll be a school board listening session. April 16th at 5:30, school board work session. April 19th, which is a Friday, there'll be no school. The district center will be closed. April 23rd at 7 p.m., there'll be a regular school board meeting. And May 14th at 7 p.m., there'll be a regular school board meeting. And there is no correspondence tonight. Next up would be communication to the board. Citizen and employee representatives. At this time, any citizen or employee may briefly address the school board. Board will listen to brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and if desired, request that the administration follow up. The board will not take action at this meeting on requests presented at this time. I think, is this the only one we have then? Consent agenda, which includes the personnel report and minutes of the March 12th and 26th school board meetings. I'd be looking for a motion to move that forward.
So moved.
Is that you, Hala? Hala?
Second.
Laura? Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next up would be discussion reports and information items. Reports from members of the board. Board members will report on board activities since the last regularly scheduled meeting. Laura?
Oh, I get to go first. I'll try to be brief. I attended the 916 board meeting, and that is the special education district. It's a collaboration of school districts where we pool together under a superintendent and directors to provide specialized programs to benefit the students in multiple districts. It's sort of like, combining to be able to be both cost-effective and innovative. And one of the presentations we'd had was a follow-up from our initial Grow Your Own program. There's a shortage of special education teachers, and partnering with the University of Minnesota, we're able to actually have special education teaching assistants be able to become full-fledged teachers through this program. They actually get to teach in the schools and earn their masters in the school district. So they've had 40 students that have gone through already, and many of them have stayed with the district, and it's been a wonderful program. Another thing that's coming up too is there's actually going to be a program visit at Quora on the April 17th. There should be some information in your board packet from the district. So if anybody's interested in seeing that in the new building over there, that'd be great.
Thank you. Paul?
I attended the National School Board Association Conference in Philadelphia, along with Molly, and we had a wonderful time. And then right before this meeting, I attended the Ad Hoc Subcommittee on Community Engagement.
Thanks. Mo?
Yes, I was in Philadelphia at the National School Board Conference, and that was really well done. There was a lot of good information, and Hala and I will be reporting out on that at some point over the next few weeks. We'll figure that out, I'm assuming, from you, and maybe at a work session. That'll probably be most appropriate.
Yeah, we'll talk
Yeah.
to Kathy and see what the agendas look like.
Perfect. And then attended a track meet, the first one of the season, and had a lot of conversations with parents in our community.
Sure.
Thank you.
You bet. Lorian?
Thank you. I attended a synchronized swimming meet. I just have to say, I really think it's cool that we have a synchronized swimming team. So never knew that existed here in high schools, but it was great. I also attended the North Park PTA meeting, and then I also attended the Ad Hoc Subcommittee on Community Engagement prior to this meeting.
Thank you. Nate?
I was also at the subcommittee for community engagement and the chair meeting prior to this meeting, and then also got to take in the first part of the very first baseball game of the season. So the recent text I just got said they won. So
Fantastic.
go Highlanders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. I was also at the chair meeting with Natty prior to this. I attended last evening a screening of, and I don't know if it was a film, video, or what they would call it, but it was called Angst. And it addresses the realities of anxiety and depression that exist in our, not just within our students, but just in general. It was about a 42, 43-minute movie, and if there's access to it, I would highly encourage you to take a peek at it. It was very enlightening, very moving. And I think the purpose and the intent of it was to raise the awareness of the existence that they talked about the difference between having anxiety or you just being anxious, and there's truly a difference, in having anxiety and how people address it and deal with it. And it was well worth the time spent, so I appreciate those that put it together. It was well done, and again, I don't know, Marcia, is there the ability for people to, is it a YouTube thing, or how is that accessible to other people?
We have 3 viewings left, and they
They'll be-
expire on April 12th. So it was there were 5 viewings. One is your tester, and then and it was provided to us by Anoka County
Okay,
for our district. So I have until the 12th to show it 3 more times.
okay.
And so
So it's not a link thing or something like that, you just have X amount of times you get to show it, okay. Well done, it was definitely very enlightening to see that, and that was last night, so that was actually a pretty good turnout for that. So. And that's all I have to report. So we'll move on to our department updates. I believe special education is first. And
All right, this is good timing. Well, welcome. Good evening, Chair Larkin, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about special education and our update and what we do and kind of what we've been working on this school year. I'm John Fry, I'm the Director of Special Ed, and this is Marcia Walker, the Educational Support Coordinator. And she is the one responsible for that viewing the inks and coordinating that with Anoka County, so thank you, Marcia. Our mission here in Columbia Heights is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner, all belong and all succeed. And the focus for tonight's presentation is to look at these core values that we really look, when I think of special ed, I think of, again, courage and innovation truly are happening. However, I'm looking at community, where we're all belonging and believing in each other, excellence, doing our best, expecting our best every day, collaboration, working towards a common goal, integrity, doing what is right even when no one is watching, and respect, celebrating who we are, honoring our differences, and treating others well. And so those are our core values we're going to be focusing on this evening at the presentation. Again, the purpose of the presentation, again, is to share information about updates in our special education department. No governance questions with this presentation, but rather it's informational presentation about the special ed department and program. So what is the special education department? Whom do we represent our students with disabilities. However, who kind of makes that department up? We have 130 staff, and they consist of special education teachers, educational assistants, school nurses, school social workers, school psychologists, speech and language pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, deaf and hard of hearing teachers, vision teachers, O&M, or orientation mobility, helping students get around town. We have an autism specialist. Marcia is our out-of-district placement coordinator, supporting students going to 916 and other out-of-district placements. Also, PI teachers are physically impaired, and then finally our DAPE teacher is kind of the list of our special ed department. So it's rather broad. And again, like I said, there's 120 staff that encompass this department here in Columbia Heights, and obviously they are working hard to support students and each other in ensuring that progress and goals are happening. So I reviewed kind of what I talked about back in June of 2018 to say what was my focus for the year. And again, we're talking about finding our greatness. The other thing I talked about was something called a green line, or looking at kind of those pieces that Marcia and I and our leadership in that department do to support staff, specifically the pattern, structure, and process. So it's our job, at least how I see it, is to look at relationships. How do I build that relationship with staff so they can build relationships with students, also providing information to ensure that we are meeting our compliance obligations and making sure that we are doing what's best practice as well as evidence-based, and then also identity. How are we identifying ourselves as great educators? And so that's kind of the work that I've been focusing on this year in our department. And so, again, looking at relationships, information, and identity. And so the focus for this year was kind of, we're going to divide this presentation, so to speak, into three different areas. What has gone well? What have we done really good that we can be proud of with our students and ourselves as a special ed department? Also, what are areas we're still growing in? What do we need to work on? And then what are we doing to live in our greatness? What are we doing? So I've got examples of students and staff. So what has gone well? This is my favorite part, so I'm going to talk about that. Marcia will talk about it a little too. But what has gone well? You've heard a lot of this already, but I'll reiterate it. We've expanded the Anchor program to Columbia Academy. We're going to have 5 students coming up. So we're starting to slowly grow that program to ensure that we're meeting the needs down for our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students who may need a therapeutic day treatment facility, or not facility, but a program that we can provide here at Columbia Academy. We're also expanding our transition programming at the 9th grade to increase students' skills towards graduation. Again, that's looking at having a checklist and using evidence-based curriculum to look at the skills in post-secondary employment as well as independent living to have citizens and students and scholars who are graduating and being tax-paying citizens when they graduate or going into college, depending on what they want to do. We've also had the opportunity to create a co-teaching model here at North Park with the pre-K4 classroom here at the Family Center. It's kind of the North Park South, so to speak, until it gets built here in about a year and a half. So we have a co-teacher, we have a special ed teacher, we have a ECFC teacher, and then we also have a special education para who's supporting about 20 students. The ratio is probably half special ed and half regular ed to ensure that we have students who may not have access to a pre-K, VPK4 classroom to have access and get the supports that they need from to our 3 highly skilled individuals. What else has gone well, Marcia?
So what else has gone well is that we are in our second year of the Assistive Technology Work Group, which is through the Minnesota Department of Education. The work group, overall arching, is working on evaluating and attending to student needs in the area of assistive technology. So addressing that when we are at IEP meetings and meeting those needs of students. Participation in the work group includes fees and lodging to attend the statewide conference, Charting the Seas. So the picture is 3 of our staff who the conference was just the past 2 days, and that is their picture poster presentation, which is talking about the core word of the week, which is an AT practice, and which I can tell you about more at another time if you'd like to know what that is. And they sent us an email today saying that their poster presentation was very well received, and a lot of other attendees at the conference were very interested in what we were doing in Columbia Heights. Another area that has gone very well is we completed our compliance self-review with 100% of the corrections completed. Another area, this year we have added 2 in-district certified nonviolent crisis prevention intervention trainers. Myself, I'm trained, and also Mary Beth Higgins. She's the Dean of Students at Valley View Elementary. And what this has done is it allows us the flexibility to provide in-house training at times when there is professional development days, and we don't have to seek someone outside to come in. This year, I have facilitated 4 trainings, and 44 staff have been trained in prevention and de-escalation strategies. So what else is going well? So as the out-of-district liaison, I work with 916 program staff regarding students' readiness to transition back into our schools. And this school year, we have had 4 elementary students that have transitioned from Carner Blue Elementary back into our elementary schools successfully and are doing well. I check up on them. And also within our district, students that may be receiving support through center-based programming, or what we would say federal setting 3, we also have 5 students that have transitioned from center-based programming into a less restrictive setting and more inclusion time in their grade level classrooms. And they're also doing very well. Another highlight from 916 is that we have 4 students who will be graduating this spring from receiving a diploma from us, but through their programming in 916. Another interesting endeavor that we embarked on this year was a partnership with North Metro Pediatrics. This was in response to an identified need in the area of students having up-to-date immunizations. We partnered with North Metro to provide an in-district immunization clinic. And this was facilitated through a partnership grant from Anoka County Children's and Family Council. 2 clinics were held, October 4th at the high school and October 11th at Columbia Academy during parent-teacher conferences. And some of the data is up there from our immunization clinic. 65 total vaccines were administered. There were families that had no health insurance, didn't have connections with a clinic in the area. Some had language needs that we addressed through the immunization clinic. It was really a very successful event. A few more highlights from the clinic are there was also follow-up from the families. 20 follow-up referrals were made, including 10 dental referrals. That was an unexpected outcome when we planned this. Over 30 staff participated from multiple agencies. Just to highlight North Metro Pediatrics, Columbia Heights District staff, there were University of Minnesota nurse practitioners, Anoka County Public Health nurses, Anoka County Child and Teen Checkup representatives, and MNsure navigators from Health Access Minnesota. Overall, we reached many families who struggle to access preventative health care for their children, and we were able to remove a barrier to them attending school, and we are planning on partnering with them again for the next school year.
So that is what's going well. What are some areas that we as a department can grow in, or what are some things we need to be working on or have been working on this school year? The first thing is to increase our MCA scores for students in special education across the district. And our response to that, of some of the data that we saw from last year, was to look at our literacy curriculum, specifically at the elementary level, and to review evidence-based practices and what's best for students who are receiving special ed services, and to purchase a curriculum to pilot for next year. So our plan is to train, we have the curriculum to pilot, but we're going to be training our staff at the beginning of next year and implementing that fully. And this is the Sunday curriculum that we are piloting. It's based on Orton Gillingham, so it's research-based. It's got some very good information, and it's looking at phonological awareness and phonemics and decoding. So that will be the focus for that pilot for next year. We've also looked at our due process updates and procedural changes provided to staff, looking at best practices and compliance, and one of those things, or the two things that we have done, is we've created a monthly newsletter to send to staff, to look at what are some items that they need to do, what is some interesting information, and then typically if Marcia and I, because we like to look at due process law, if there's some updates, we send that out to staff, so we are maintaining compliance at kind of as of today. So I want to make sure that we are following those rules and those laws as things get changed through case law or through legislation or what have you. We also follow that up with a monthly special education staff meeting to provide clarity. I meet with staff. Marcia and I meet with them every month. We meet for 45 minutes to an hour. We provide clarity about things. They have time to ask us questions. If they have concerns, we problem solve to kind of come up with some solutions that might arise where they're at. And so that is one thing that we've looked at to provide some consistency as well as information. The other thing is that we're completing the fiscal compliance requirements for 18-19. We've created a plan providing timelines to MDE to ensure completion of this by June 29th, because that's when we have to get it done. So that will be done, and that's in partnership with Denise in the business office, to ensure that we are meeting our compliance obligations for state and federal funds that we use for special education purchases as well as staffing. What are some areas we're also growing in? We're looking at continuous staff development. Our response, we need to work on continuing to develop our staff, but one thing that we did that we just did this Friday was working with our educational assistants in a presentation looking at realizing their why in the work they do, and kind of coming back to the foundation is, why are you working with students who are exceptional, scholars with disabilities? Why are you working with them, and how does that impact the work you do? And I think it's important to revisit that as to why we are doing what we're doing, so we can continue to impact students on a broader and a greater level. The other thing that we've done is build relationships with all stakeholders, parents, teachers, EAs, and the community. One of the responses we did is we've increased our communication with our Special Education Advisory Seat Council to broaden parent participation. By the way, next meeting is May 8th. 6 p.m. for those who are interested. We're also participating in the 2019 Special Education Parent Survey with MDE. They're going to pull a cross-section of about 30 or 40 parents and send out a survey to get their responses in regards to how can we better do our job, and how can we better meet the needs of students with disabilities. And finally, we've included itinerant staff. Those are the staff from 916 in our newsletter communications, trainings, and monthly meetings to ensure we have consistency between the people who are itinerant, who perhaps going out to the home with the childhood, and those who are here in the building, to make sure we are basically on the same page and they're getting the same information. So what are we doing to live on our greatness? This is the best part of the presentation, so here we go. So greatness of our staff. As you can see there, we have Pam Myers. Last year, she was the Teacher of the Year, and she started the year off talking about how we can do hard things. And I would submit to you that Pam is a great representative of the special education department in doing hard things at Highland. She's also one who was very encouraging, and that was a great start to the year. She also took it upon herself to do a book study with our educational assistants over at Highland to talk about consistency and routines. So I think it was important for her to expand on what she's already done. So she does. So again, Pam Myers. The picture there on our left is our social workers and a school psychologist. We received a donation from Pilgrim's Cleaners back in, I think it's October, November, and they organized that, and they've connected families who may not have access to warm coats or mittens or hats. So they're the kind of leaders for that, ensuring that students are able to be safe when the weather hits, which will happen on Thursday perhaps. Again, the greatness of our staff on there here, we've got a canine-inspired change. It was offered as an encore class by Kendra Rimmeride, who is a special educator at Valley View Elementary. And this is to fuse dog training and therapy to empower students. But this therapeutic approach is also going to be incorporated with our anchor program for fourth quarter once a week to look at that therapeutic component. So I'm excited about that, and we want to thank Kendra for her work in bringing that initiative here to Columbia Heights. And then on the right there, we have Matt Burr, who is an educational assistant at CA, part of the Columbia Academy's kind of reading with students. They're hoping to strengthen the culture of literacy through the staff book talk. So he had an opportunity to kind of lead a group, as you can see there in the book, The Crossover by Kwame Alexander. And so he's able to read the book with them, they get a book, and then he follows up with them as the building educational assistant here. Another thing on the left there is that we had our special education team over at Columbia Academy partner with the fire department in teaching our students about CPR there at Columbia Academy. On the right hand, we've got Scott Rome, our work-based learning teacher, as well as a teacher at the high school who works with our Strive program, students who are volunteering with Kids in Need organization, and they put together kind of papers and pens and organize that, so when we go and access that, we have the opportunity to have something that looks organized and neat, and thanks to Scott and his team of, I think there's 22 students who attended that program there. The other thing we have there is two pictures. We've got Unified Sports at Columbia Academy. On the left, we have our bowling team that participated in December. And again, Unified Sports is inspired by a simple principle: playing together is a quick path to friendship and understanding. Apparently, they had a lot of fun, and many of the students won medals. And apparently, our team, as always, is complimented for showing kindness and good sportsmanship throughout the event. So people there really notice both, again, that unified presence of Columbia Academy there at the bowling, statewide bowling participation game. On the right there, we have a basketball. They went over to Bethel in February and played in the unified basketball tournament that happens every year. Apparently, we had two teams, and they went undefeated. But students received compliments from Bethel staff, Special Olympics staff, and the other teams about their sportsmanship and team spirit. And again, some of the students dressed up and were looking very professional as coaches, and that was nice to see. And finally, the last part of our greatness of students, because I could go on all night, but that would be really boring. So this last one is Chloe Bluth, and as special educator over at Columbia Academy, as well as Miss Holter at Highland, who partnered together for, I guess, in Highland, the second graders, they had a March, it was a month of reading, a reading month in March, and so they invited guest speakers to come and read, and so Chloe's class and the students were able to come and read and kind of share their expertise in what they have learned in reading with the second graders. So as you say, everybody looks really happy, or at least we're trying to. So, but again, they wanted to make reading fun for the month, and they did that with our students. So that's the greatness of our students. Thank you.
Any questions, comments?
I'm well aware of a lot of the good things going on, so there is a lot of staff to be commended. The work that they do is incredible, and I appreciate that daily. One question, is there any movement towards unified sports at the high school? I've had that question asked of me several times. Do you know anything about
I do not know, but thank you for asking. I will work with Antoine, as well as Chloe, who's kind of leading that CA, and look at what that might look like at the high school. It's a great opportunity for all of our students to participate in, and why not, broaden that out. And I think we had members of the Special Education Advisory Council who also noted that as well. So Marcia and I will take a look into that.
Great, thank you.
I have two things I just wanted to comment on. One, I appreciate the survey that you had mentioned, that you were going to be completing the MDE survey for special ed parents, because as you're going through, one of the questions I actually wrote down is, do we get feedback from our parents? So I was pleased to see that, and hopefully you'll share those results with the board when you get those. And then the Special Education Advisory Council, which is a way, obviously, for you to get constant or ongoing feedback, I should say, from parents who have students in the program. You said the next meeting was May 8th at
Yes.
6 p.m. How are parents notified or invited or communicated that these meetings are happening?
Well, I can't speak of it historically in a last meeting, and probably the last meeting, we sent it out on Facebook as an invite. We also sent it to our case managers and encouraged them to send it home in backpacks or to parents, or send an email to get a group of parents to advise us. So that's kind of how we're doing it. And I have some suggestions from our parents were continue on Facebook. How can we expand it to Instagram and other variety of different social medias as well? At least that's what I took out of it, Marcia. I don't know if...
In addition, those parents that have attended and shared their email or phone contact information, I send a personal invitation to those who have attended.
And are we getting decent attendance at those meetings, or is that an area for improvement as well?
I will say we had 14 last meeting, and I thought that was a really, really good turnout. I've been in districts, again, I was in Stillwater, we had maybe 7 or 8. So having 14 in our district is huge, and I think that's important. And we have kind of a broad swath of parents who are advising us with a variety of different students who may have disabilities that are along the spectrum. So I think that's important. I think we had a really good turnout, and I was really encouraged by that. It was more than we had in the fall. So that tells me that progress is happening, and that's important.
Thank you.
Is there a way we can reach out to them through the parent portals we use more directly? Because if parents are expecting some communication via those portals, is just a food for thought.
Yeah, we will be looking into that.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
I think another suggestion from the SEEK folks were to talk through the newsletters as well, to get that out there. So that's another option, I believe.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is the Blooming Heights update.
Should we just one of those tabs?
Chair Larkin, members of the school board, we're pleased to be here this evening to provide for you an update about the programming and the program of Blooming Heights. And this evening in particular, I'm happy that our agriculture specialist, Maya Lemon, is able to present all of these items to you. And I just want to publicly acknowledge what a fantastic leader Maya has been, not only for our district as the agriculture specialist, but also sharing her experience and her passion and her innovation statewide. And Maya will be transitioning this summer. So I just want to publicly say how grateful we are, what a difference Maya has made in the lives of our students and in the health of our Blooming Heights program and gardens. So thank you, Maya. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Maya for the presentation.
Great. You probably have heard me coughing, so I'm going to try and make it through this presentation, but I apologize. I've been a little bit sick recently. So thank you so much for making time to hear a little bit about the work that I've been doing in the past year. I love, as I've said before, starting with this mission because I think that it ties so much to the work that we do in Blooming Heights. That we really are creating a whole other world for our students to be in and interact with. And I think in this past year in particular, we've thought a lot about what are the different ways that we create opportunities for learning for not just our students, but our teachers and our family members as well. So I'm excited to share some about that. Of our core values, I think I could speak to ways that we see all of them evident in the programming that I do, but In particular, community, collaboration, respect, and courage are values that our students report most experiencing. When I have sort of given them these at the end of different visits, those are the ones that they sort of talk about getting to practice when they're doing programming with us. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the state of the program. I'm going to talk to you all about our mission and guiding principles. We'll talk a little bit about program assessments, teacher training, our new Blooming Heights Resource Hub, college internships, and the future of the program, and then, of course, give you all time to ask questions and offer feedback. As we go throughout this presentation, I've tried to put lots of photos in so that you can I always say to people, I'm not Blooming Heights. Blooming Heights is our whole district and is a whole space and a whole idea. And so I've put lots of pictures of students in here, and I hope that you will really think about them as Blooming Heights as much as you're listening to me. There also are lots of quotes in here, and these quotes, I think, really illustrate the experience part of the program, and they come from both teachers and students. So, excuse me, as of February, we've had over 4,000 student visits with Blooming Heights, and so that's both nutrition programming and classroom visits, as well as visits to the garden. We've done programming in the North Park Courtyard Garden, as well as the Blooming Heights Edible Schoolyard here at the district office, and then lots of classrooms visits as well. This sunflower that you can see in this picture, this was a mammoth sunflower, and you can't really tell how big it is, but it is probably it's like twice the size of this kid's face. The kids at North Park, this was in the North Park Garden, and the kids had so much fun with that sunflower this fall. One of the really exciting additions that we had to the program this year was that SHIP provided us with a Charlie cart. So the Charlie cart is a fully operational mobile cooking unit. It has a very slick design. Everything is sort of tucked into there. So there's an oven in there and a hot plate and a sink and all of the dishes that you would need to do full cooking curriculum with 30 kids. It also comes with curriculum for K-5, so it's been really easy for us to implement it in the classroom. It was here at the district office and used for summer adventure club programming this summer, and then was used mostly with high school programming. We ran an after-school youth program with it this fall. And then it's been at Valley View for an encore after-school class, and now it's at Highland for an after-school class. The teachers are also, when it's at that building, they have had the opportunity to sign up for those cooking experiences as well. And it's been a really fun way to do things like we did a bunch of work with students on fractions and did a baking project. And so it's been a really hands-on way to tie in curriculum they're already doing.
So that a reminder that SHIP is that statewide health improvement partnership funding through all of the taxpayers. So thank you, taxpayers.
Encore has been a big part of the after-school programming that we've done. We're really grateful for that opportunity. So the 4-H Youth Teaching Youth Partnership, we've continued that this past fall. So I've talked to you all about this before. It's a program where high school students apply and they're trained in nutrition curriculum and then they teach it after school. And I think that program is one of the things that I'm the most proud of and feel the most inspired by in this position, which is saying something because I think I experienced that in many ways. But the sort of levels of self-confidence and the leadership that I see in students from that program is really inspiring. So really was a great program to run this fall. We also run our Seed to Plate program at the high school. That's a cooking program for high school students focused on taking whole foods and turning those into delicious meals so that students really have an idea of if you're picking food from a garden or buying whole food from a farmer's market or even a grocery store, how do you turn that into the sort of meals that we all expect to eat? And then as I mentioned before, the Charlie Cart cooking at Valley View and Highland. So this past year, really, when I started the position, we had a mission statement for the program, but it was pretty broad. And so as I sort of started to try to get my head around what is Blooming Heights and what is the scope of my work and how do we assess our work, it felt like we needed a little bit more clarity and what that meant. And so we spent about 2 years working with teachers and students and staff and community members and administrators, collecting information and conversations and sending out surveys and having all sorts of focus groups to think about who are we as a program, what do we do really well, where should we be leaning. And this mission statement is kind of what has come out of that. So Blooming Heights is a Columbia Heights Public Schools program that uses school garden and nutrition programming to facilitate equitable experiences that engage all the senses while building the skills and knowledge necessary for cultivating a healthy life and a healthy planet. And so this mission statement has it hasn't changed our work, but I think it has solidified our work and it has validated our work. With that, we also articulated a set of guiding principles, and you all have received these, so I'm not going to read these out to you, but these guiding principles have been really helpful for us in thinking about what are the specific steps to our work. So it's like you have a recipe that has sort of the title of the recipe or the synopsis, and then you like get down to the ingredients. And I think about these guiding principles are sort of like our specific ingredient steps. And so with that, we developed a set of assessments that are really based directly off of that mission statement and those guiding principles. So we sent out, the assessment goes to all of the teachers who do programming with Blooming Heights. They all get an assessment that's sort of more quantitative after their visit. It goes to select groups of students. So we have one that's for elementary, so it's for grades 3-5. We decided not to do assessments with K2 just because it's a little bit, the whole like language testing thing gets tricky with that age. So they have a lot of fun in the garden, and we just go with that. So we have an assessment for the elementary, and then we also have a secondary assessment that is for middle and high school students. And those don't go out to every student group just because that would be a big lift for teachers and for me, frankly. But it does go out to many of our student groups. So you all received in your board book a copy of those assessments. If you have questions about that when you look at it, or if you want to talk with me more about that, I'm happy to at any point. We've gotten really good feedback so far that we are doing what we're doing, which was sort of our goal we didn't really have an idea. We knew that people liked what we were doing, but we weren't sure if it was sort of meeting these benchmarks that I was thinking about, but that we wanted to articulate. And so that's been a really exciting thing. We also have done a qualitative assessment that goes out to our teachers who do like more focused programming with us. So folks like Kristen Carliello at the high school has done a lot of work with me in her American Indian classes. She got it. Amber Young, who is at Highland, who's the science teacher there and does a lot of collaboration with me, she got that qualitative survey. And so it's going to people who really know the program really well, and they've given us some qualitative feedback. One of the really exciting things that we got from qualitative feedback was that everyone talked about that being involved with Blooming Heights was a professional development opportunity for them, and that by coming and observing and participating and getting to collaborate, that they were developing skills as teachers that they might not be otherwise, and thinking about teaching in ways that they might not be otherwise, and thinking about what their students were capable of doing and how they were capable of interacting with space or ideas or each other. And so I think Kristen and I have thought a lot about how Blooming Heights can be a professional development opportunity for teachers, and it was really exciting to see that that feedback come back to us from our teachers. And so one of the big things that teachers have said to us, at least since I started the program, is that they think Blooming Heights is really great, and they think coming in the garden is really great, and that they know that they're good educators in the classroom, but that they don't necessarily know how to be good educators in outdoor learning spaces. And so through the requests from folks that they wanted to feel more equipped to do that on their own, or just to be able to support the agriculture specialists more, we offered a teacher training this past year in the summer. So it was a 4-hour training. We had about 15 teachers who participated in the summer. And so using the garden and thinking about how to use the garden, but also thinking about how can you take your reading groups outside and be doing the work that you would be doing in the classroom outside. How can you practice doing counting with objects in nature, and having it be not just specific to the garden, but how can you use the piece of grass in front of the playground or the looking out the window and really doing some observation with that. We also offered a fall in-service during one of our in-service days, and again, had about 20 teachers at that one. And then we also, I did a teacher training for about 30 teachers statewide at the Minnesota Schoolyard Garden Conference. So I think that I want you all to know that has been really well received, and we hope to continue to offer teacher training in the future, but that I think that that was something that folks really asked for and that has been really appreciated by our teachers. This quote right here, I just will read this one to you because I think that this quote really spoke well to the benefit for teachers. Visiting Blooming Heights has made me realize how curious my students really are. It has made me reevaluate the type of work they are capable of doing and the level of questions they are capable of asking. So that's a great, I think, a testament to the value of outdoor learning and outdoor learning spaces and how that we can be creating a world not just for our students, but for our educators as well. Another thing that we have been asked for a lot is to put all of our information in one place. People are always saying to me, Maya, we know you have all this good content and curriculum and websites, but how do I get access to it? And so I am building a resource hub that will have sort of all of our logistics, our scheduling, our assessments, all of that stuff. But it also is going to have our curriculum. So it's divided up by content area. So math or science or whatever, and they can look at what do we already have in place. It has links to websites that have helpful information and our calendar so that hopefully teachers will be able to go to one place and get everything they need on us. And so some of that is us hoping that we will see more collaboration with teachers, and some of it is also hoping that our teachers will start to see the garden more as their resource and pull that into their regular planning that they're doing. Last summer, we were really excited to have 2 college interns. We had a student from the University of Minnesota and a student from McAllister. They both did about 20 hours a week with us throughout the summer. They got a lot of teaching experience. They both did some independent projects for us. I don't think we're going to have an intern this year. It hasn't seemed like that's going to shape out, but I think that we feel confident that that's something that could happen again in the future. And I think, again, that sort of allows us to be thinking about how are we sharing the work that we do, not just with young people, but with slightly older young people as well. So that was a really great opportunity for us and for these 2 students. So in thinking about the future of the program, so as Kristen mentioned, I'm moving on from the program. I'm going back to school to study social work. So this has been an amazing opportunity and have many, many different feelings about making that choice, but that's what I'm doing right now. And so I really wanted to make sure that the work that I've done and the work that Bonnie Lohman, who had the position before me, has done, that gets carried over and gets passed on. So one of the things that I've done is put together a resource binder that has sort of big programming pieces and stuff like that in it. We've also pulled together all of our curriculum so that it can get handed off really easily. And then one of the other things that we're hoping to do is we're in interviews right now, and we're hoping that there will be a 2-week overlap between when I'm done and when the new person starts, so that we get to work together and really spend some time training them in. And then I'm also going to be doing some consulting work as well in the fall so that, again, we can sort of continue to carry on those conversations. My position is really unique in that no one else does my job. And Kristen knows a lot about my job, but there's also a lot that she doesn't know, just because she does a lot of things too. So we just want to make sure that there is that time for sort of the institutional knowledge that has been given to me to get passed on so that the work continues pretty seamlessly. And so I just want to express my gratitude to you as a school board. People all the time are like, how is this possible? Our program is so unique in the state, and I think that one of the first things that I say is that we have a school board who is really unconditionally supportive and asks for us to be thinking about new and innovative ways to be doing things, and really sees this as a way to do that in our district and sees this as a value to our district. So thank you all so much for your support. It's really, it's crucial to the success and the longevity of this program. We're coming up on 10 years. This next May will be 10 years of Blooming Heights, which, like I said, there are almost no other programs like this, and especially programs like this that are that long. That's really a testament to you all that this program has been around for that long. I also am super grateful to the district leadership, all of you directors. You also make this work really possible, and so I hope that that all continues. And then Kristen is, as you all know, an amazing leader and an advocate for programs like this and for making sure that our students and our staff have these other worlds and opportunities for learning. And so it's been great to work with you as well. So thank you all so much for your time. I'm happy to answer questions or to talk if you have any feedback about this transition time. I know that it's a thing that people have some a little bit of anxiety or trepidation around. So I'm happy to talk about that tonight, or if any point you have thoughts on that, I'm welcome those as well. So thank you so much.
Questions or feedback?
I just want to make sure and say thank you for all that you've done. I don't know that there's any kid in our district that hasn't touched the Blooming Heights Garden, so probably numerous times. I know my own children have. Thank you for all of that, but also for your thoughtfulness about moving forward and what you've put together and everything like that. And also best of luck in social work. I know you'll do great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. You're going to be a tough act to follow. You've done some pretty great things, and again, just echoing what Molly said about the combining the information into one space, even how critical that is. Thank you for taking the time to do that, and amongst the, I'm sure, very big list of regular duties you have. And also just want to throw out there that, is there a possibility we see you back here as a social worker? Or?
Probably not going to do school social
Oh,
work,
all
but
right, okay.
probably moving into clinical. But
All right.
I will definitely recommend Columbia Heights to lots of people and think I will stay connected with you all.
All right.
Anybody else? Thank you. Good luck.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, precast structural and steel bids.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting compared to the last one.
Yeah, good luck, guys.
Not a lot of
I don't know who's-
excitement in this.
I don't know who set the agenda, but you should probably
You
talk
should
to
ask
them
for
about.
first next time.
I'm excited.
Just kind of
about
some
both
raw information.
Lorian's excited, so you got that going for you, Brian.
All right. Good evening, Chair Larkin, members of the board. This evening, this is just an informational item. We had our first sealed bid process for precast and steel and our structural steel for our high school band room. We have the results of that, and we wanted to present that as an information item this evening and then bring it back to the school board on April 23rd for an action item approving the recommendations that we have before you this morning, or this evening, I should say. So I have with me Gary Zifko from Krause Anderson. Again, Krause Anderson is managing the bond referendum projects for us. We have several people from Krause Anderson that are working with us. Gary is one of them and was lucky enough to Get the invite, right. So if we have any specific questions regarding this, Gary will be able to answer those. He's also managing me to make sure I don't say the wrong things. But before you have a letter, recommendation from Krause Anderson of bid awards. And then the following pages are the bid tabulation sheets for each pack. And so you can see for the first pack of structural precast Wells Concrete products, was the base bid of $478,900, was our low bid, and recommending moving forward with them. For structural steel, the material only, Construction Systems Inc., with a base bid of $61,300. And then for the structural steel erection, High Five Erectors, and the base bid of $45,256. And again, the bid tabulation sheets are attached within the board pack as well to see those. So any questions that you would have for us this evening on those results? Again, the letter recommendation to move forward with those three.
My question would be,
Obviously, the bids that you're recommending are the lowest in each case. Are we familiar with these companies and comfortable? I mean, sometimes low bid is not always best bid, but
Yep.
your professional input on that?
Yeah, we've worked.
I'm sorry,
on-
Lorian, that would have been Lorian's question, sorry. I had to say.
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
We've worked with all these contractors on multiple jobs in the K-12 sector, so we're comfortable with them. They've performed well.
Okay. Any other questions, Lorian?
That was it.
And I would just say that as the bids have come in, I mean, we're starting off on the right foot. The numbers have come in well for us, so we hope that continues. It's hard to say, but so we're starting off on the right foot. We're within budget, so we look forward to staying there for the rest of as the bids come in.
Anybody else? This will be next.
And next board meeting, April 23rd, will be an action item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up would be an action item, be the transportation contract approval. I need to tell you something.
Good evening, Chair Larkin, members of the board. I have with me Arlen Viting, and he is our transportation consultant from K-12 Transportation Management Services, and he is also our, he runs our transportation department, so we contract out with his company. So when you call for transportation services, you get Arlen or one of his team. So we're here tonight to talk about the transportation contract and get you to approve our contract. And our core values that we are focusing on are excellence and integrity in this contract. So I'll just review the process, and if you have any questions, then Arlen would be happy to answer them. The transportation contract RFP process was, we came to you in December of 2018 and asked permission to go out for an RFP to change transportation companies. The district received 3 proposals in February of 2019, and you approved us entering into final negotiations with Monarch Bus Service during March. So Arlen has been working with Monarch to get a contract with their attorneys and then also our district attorney. So, do you want to go through the contract stuff, Arlen? This is what you want to. You want to review that? Or just review this with them?
Oh, okay.
What's in the contract that you
Right.
negotiated for us?
Essentially, a process over the last few handful of weeks here since March was to meet with the members of Monarch and review both the specifications and the draft contract language to make sure that we're understanding everything that we're agreeing to. Obviously, that's important as we go forward with a new service provider. The contract itself was essentially the existing, we started with a template of our existing transportation contract, which is a very comprehensive contract, was put in place 2 years ago. Not a lot of things change in the transportation world year over year, so there were very minimal changes to actual language within the contract itself. Basically, we reviewed from an operational perspective, what are the day-to-day expectations that the district has for Monarch as they come on as a new partner. Administrative procedures, for example, billing, reporting, day-to-day communications, those types of things. And then, as Denise mentioned, legal review, both from their perspective and from the district perspective on the contract. So,
Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead. We're here tonight to present you with and request your approval of a 2-year transportation contract commencing with next school year, 2019-2020 school year.
Start with a motion to move that forward.
So moved.
Maddie
Second.
and Molly. Discussion, questions?
You mentioned a contract. Would you say this contract is kind of like relatively simple and very well understood on your end? As far as contracts go, like we feel comfortable with all the language, it's clear.
I guess I would say it's very, very representative of a transportation contract here in the metro area, certainly. I think as a reference before, Monarch Bus Service is an affiliate of a larger Minnesota operator, Minnesota Coach, which operate in several metro school districts. So as they reviewed our existing transportation language and provided some I guess I would call it clarification language from their perspective, certainly appropriate with the intent of our contract. I would say it's in line with best practice. And again, it's our discussion and our engagement has been good over the last these weeks. So I'm confident that they have a clear understanding of our expectations as a district and what the needs of our students, our families, and our community need.
Thanks.
And the contract is within our budget expectations?
Yeah, well within our budget expectations for 1920.
Great.
Just building on what you're talking about, that they're clear as far as what our expectations are, and you're comfortable with that. Do you think we're clear on both sides? I mean, when you start talking legal contracts and there's interpretation and all these different things, but those conversations have been had that
Right.
we're on the same page?
We, in fact, right up till yesterday afternoon, there were some points, again, from their experience that they didn't see referenced in our language, and they presented some language to clarify that. As we discussed, again, made sense. We were able to get to a point where where both parties were comfortable with the language as it landed. And in answer to your question, again, I believe there's a good understanding on both sides of the contract here on what our expectations are.
Yeah, it was a good negotiation, and it was respectful, and we didn't have any issues.
I'll say that we have a provider that's excited to come and meet the district or present themselves to the district, and perhaps if the board is open to that at a future meeting, very, very anxious to partner with the district and have the community get to know them as an organization and to build that partnership going forward.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Okay, hearing no further discussion, the motion on the table is to award full-service transportation contract to Monarch Bus Service for a 2-year term. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you for all your hard work, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up is board topics. Anybody have anything for board topics?
Valley View PTO meeting, April 18th at 6, right? 6 p.m. Just come in the main doors and there'll be signs pointing in the right direction.
Signs. Good. Anybody else?
Yep, there's a Columbia Heights High School choir concert tomorrow at 7 p.m., excuse me, in the Performing Arts Center at the high school. Also, Columbia Academy has their academic night. That was rescheduled or the date changed, so that's the 18th of April. So Columbia Academy Academic Night, the 18th of April. I believe that's at 6 p.m. Don't quote me on that. And then the high school musical plan for the opening of that, April 25th is the high school musical Beauty and the Beast will open.
Okay. More, did I see your hand go up?
I believe also that there's the Highlands Fine Arts Night is on Thursday as well. That's, I believe, at 5:30.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing no further board topics, we will adjourn the meeting at 8:35.